Yeah.
Let's talk about imposter syndrome. Do you get it? And what do you do?
I have it right now.
To get
it's like my little friend.
Today, we have the pleasure of having the amazing, beautiful Stephanie, Steph Lynn Photography. She is a portrait/brand photographer in the South Florida area, but she will travel.
Yes, ma'am.
She
love
will
leaving.
Yes. Love leaving.
Let's go.
So today we did my brand photo shoot. So you guys are gonna be able to see some of that behind the scenes during this while we have a little conversation.
Yeah.
And so we're just gonna get to know Steph a little bit here, because Steph is a badass boss lady.
Aw, thank you.
She is, you are a badass lady.
It's the haircut.
Anybody who has that haircut,
Thanks, I appreciate it.
don't mess with her.
Aw.
You have a thriving business, you have your own studio, so kind of take us through the journey of that.
Yeah, I love that. So I've always been an artist, and I feel like I always knew that art was my calling ever since I was little. But as you grow up, you start to want, or you're told that you need more stability. So I went to FSU, I got my degree in creative writing, and I started writing for fashion companies and went to some runway shows, and I worked with a photographer, and I was like, whoa, this is like incredible. But it was an internship, so then I got a paying job in politics for way too long. It was like 12 years. I was a speechwriter and a chief of staff for like a representative and a senator. And I remember being just so unhappy and disconnected. Yeah. And I met my now fiance Greg on Tinder. And he's like,
Tinder success story.
And he's like deep. So he's like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, I didn't know he was a photographer. So I was like, I want to literally tell people stories through my writing and take photos and travel. That's it. And he was like, oh, that's what I do. And I was like, yeah, right. Like,
Stop.
Okay, so fun. So on like our third date, he brought me a camera and he's like, okay, so shoot your heart out. And then on our next date, I'll tell you if I think you're good or not. And I was like, what? How do you use this? He's like, figure it out, girl. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out right now. So I did. I just started shooting, and on a date, he was like looking through them and he's like, you've never shot a professional photo. I'm like, never, like it's so bad, right? He's like, no, you should quit your job. So for a year I was like, no, but I just started shooting, posting, really miserable at my job. So I went to Africa to clear my mind, because that's normal.
That's what you do. That sounds good. Anytime you want to clear your mind, we can go to Africa. Baby.
And I remember being on a bus in Africa being like, I miss nothing about my life at home except my family and him.
Wow.
And I knew I had to make a change.
Yeah.
So I came back and I mutually separated from my very successful long-term career. And I said, I'm not getting on Indeed.com. I'm not doing it. I'm going to shoot photos and it's going to work out. And now 8 years later, I have a thriving business and a studio, and I have 6 part-time employees, and it's been like the best decision of my life.
Would you classify yourself as a natural light photographer? Do you prefer natural light?
You know what? I don't know if I prefer it. It's just what I got into. So now that I have a studio, I'm like really diving into learning lighting, which is a process, just like natural light is.
Yep.
But I think like challenging yourself, because once you start using lighting, you're like, wait a minute. I like this vibe a lot.
Yes.
So yes, I'm a natural light photographer, but I'm delving into studio lighting, and I think it's awesome. And I think everybody should be comfortable with both. It takes time.
It does take time. What do you think? Why do you think people are so scared of studio lighting?
Oh my gosh, because it's technical.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us artists, like we get really comfortable with our camera body and our lenses and how to use that specific body. But I think for a lot of us creatives, like technical stuff sometimes is really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you're like, while I'm shooting, I have to, you know, think about all that too.
Yeah.
But if you just like, I don't know, zen out and see it as like a whole addition to your creative process, I think it's amazing. Like today shooting you with these was just like, whoa, this is a whole new level.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you have so much control.
Yeah.
Which you do not in a natural setting.
I know, you would think that like, oh, natural light is so much easier than studio light, but honestly, natural light is so like unpredictable.
Yeah,
it's unpredictable.
Really,
it's very stressful. You know, it could become cloudy all of a sudden, you know, just the different lighting patterns, but when you have it in studio light, it's actually very predictable. I know
It's very
exactly where the
predictable.
light is going. The scariest part of it is just learning, you know, settings of your light, settings of your camera, and how the shaping of light. It's like I tell everybody, like the first thing you should learn is lighting.
I agree.
As the very first thing to learn is lighting, because that's
totally
all,
agree with
that's
you.
all it is. That's all
Yeah.
photography, not all it is, but it's a big part of it.
It's huge. I feel like, and if I could redo my journey, I think I would definitely try to learn and master them simultaneously. Because sometimes I think when you get stuck in a groove in photography and you get so busy with clients, you don't feel like you have the time to like start anew.
Yeah.
But you do. And you
Yeah.
have to create that space, because if not, you really become like a factory photographer and it hinders your creative skills and your ability to grow.
I agree.
Yeah, so right now I am a natural light photographer. It's not a bad thing to say, but I definitely think that if I want to like really level up, lighting it's essential.
Well, you killed it today.
Oh, thanks, because you are like a master. I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
No, it's a lot of guessing.
Well, so we were talking about that. It's a process, and it's okay, like in front of your clients, to be like, I don't like the way this looks.
Yeah, we were talking about that today during the shoot. Like we were messing around with the lights at first, and we were saying like, you know, I think at first we kind of had this like, not nervousness, but maybe it was like a nervousness that like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but everyone does this.
Yeah,
every
100%.
professional does this. They don't just show up, set their lights, set the setting, and boom, the first shot is perfect.
No.
Like, no, stop it.
100%.
No, it's a lot of trial error. What does this look like? What is it? Sometimes it can take you 45 minutes up to an hour just to get the lighting right.
I agree.
And then get started.
And I think that's fine to know that. Like, I really imagine it. Like you said, you're painting with light. And I think of like an artist, like painting and then stepping back. What they do is they step back and they're like analyzing it. And sometimes they're like, yes, going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And they have to rethink or change something. And like, I think that photographers are so scared to act like that's the process and it's okay.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Why am I changing this? Does my client think I'm not good enough? And it's like, no, this is an artistic journey.
Yes.
It's a process.
Yes.
And it's okay. Your client knows so much less about what's happening than you do. So like to them, they're like, yeah, change it, like whatever.
Yeah,
but
they
in our
don't really care.
heads, we're just
overthinking.
like, yeah, we're spiraling.
You're spiraling.
It's not that big of a deal.
Do you still get nervous before shoots?
Yeah, especially certain ones, like a wedding is just,
I don't know how you do it.
it's like the Super Bowl of someone's life.
That's a good way to describe it.
And you're doing that like 3 times a month, and you're just like, and every hotel is different, every venue is different, every bride is different, every chemistry between the couple is different.
Yeah.
Lighting is all over the place.
Yeah.
You're challenged every 10 minutes for 8 to 10 hours, sometimes 12. Yeah, but that is such a great way to like be on your toes as a creative. But yeah, it happens in every single niche of photography.
What would you say is your favorite thing to shoot? Do you love to shoot weddings more? Because you shoot a bunch of different things.
I do.
Branding and engagements and weddings. And
I do.
So what is your favorite thing to shoot? Like what would be your dream shoot? I guess that's two different questions then.
Yeah, but no, it's fine. So I do a lot of different things, and I think the reason why is it keeps my creativity fresh, which is very important to me. And secondly, like monetarily, it's always great to diversify your portfolio. But if I had to like really be honest and be like, what is my number one? Like fashion, editorial, it's my thing. Like when I get into it, there's just a vibe, and I want to go right back to my computer and start editing right away. I like
your
the
soul.
creative team.
Yeah.
So having the makeup artist there and the art director and the set and the lighting guys, like I feel so alive when I'm surrounded by multiple creatives.
You think you work a little bit better when you have a team? Because I know I do. I love other people's input.
Me too.
I'm not one of those photographers that is like, everyone needs to shut up. I want it this way exactly. I love other people's input.
I love it. And I love when the
too.
makeup artist is coming and like maybe I'll give her a red lip and I'm like, ooh, like there's just such an energy between creatives and everyone's like hyping each other up. And at the end, you're like clapping everyone together because everyone had a piece of it. And to me, I love a team.
Me too. What would be your dream shoot?
Oh
Like dream location, dream lighting, dream just, are we shooting for a specific magazine? Like, what is it?
Yeah. So like in my dream world, Manhattan, fashion, street, a lot of juxtaposition happening, like Zara-ish, Vogue-ish. Like I'm thinking like when you open the first pages of like a Vogue magazine, those ads.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I always say like the last ad I saw was Louis Vuitton. All the people were like in a desert, it wasn't raining, all their umbrellas were open, and there was like huge pieces of luggage that from big to small and from like adult to child, and it was so bizarre. But it was so like, it stopped me. And I'm like, what is this?
Yes.
And I was like, wow. I just like loved it.
Me too, me too, me too, me too.
And I'm like, what a, like, it's genius.
The weirder, the better.
Oh my God, it was literally art. Like I was like, this is, think about the brain that it took to conceptualize that. Like it takes a minute to be that free and convince Louis Vuitton, like this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
We're gonna have people.
Check this out.
Yeah, in like random outfits with suitcase in the desert, open umbrellas, sold, right?
No.
And then to have a team be like, yes.
Yeah.
And everyone's in.
No.
I love it.
No.
I'm here for it.
The confidence you have to have. I mean, sometimes I see some of these really creative people and I'm just like, I suck.
But you don't.
Well, and let's get into that too.
Because you don't. Yeah.
Let's talk about imposter syndrome. Do you get it? And what do you do?
I have it right now.
To get.
It's like my little friend. It's right here on the way to every shoot. It's like, you are not worthy of anything. You should quit.
You suck.
Yeah. Like, what other things can we do in our life? It's so bizarre. And I'm like, shut up. Doing it. And I'm doing it bravely. And I have to tell myself that, like, you wouldn't have gotten this far.
Yeah.
Like, but the truth is that even for beginners, you're going to have that voice because you're constantly comparing yourself to other creatives. And you have your own genius. And like, that's why I say, like, quiet the noise on Instagram, stop scrolling, find the voice within, and shoot from your heart. And like, don't stop, just keep going. Because imposter syndrome is something, I've been doing this for 8 years, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's going nowhere. And it's like, instead of like being like, what's wrong with me? I know it's gonna exist.
Yeah.
And I just like, stop it.
A healthy level of imposter syndrome, I think, is okay. I mean,
I live alongside of it almost.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
You got to just live.
Keeps you on your toes.
Right? Yeah.
Keeps you working real hard.
Keeps you humble. And you know what? I think a lot of photographers need a little bit of humble.
I mean, yeah, so it's like one of those things that the best creatives I've ever met, we talk about it. Like I'll walk into their studio and they're, oh my God, I like admire them. And they're like, yeah, I had this shoot. And I was so nervous. I'm like, you were nervous?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what? You're brilliant.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, all the time. And then I'm like, it's the curse of the creative.
I think in any art form, it's really vulnerable to put it out there and like try to convince people that like, oh, this is cool, this is beautiful. Because everyone has their opinions, you know, art is very subjective. And
I think the imposter syndrome really comes from the fear of being judged. Or that like you're not good enough, right? Like side therapy note, but like all of us are like, I'm not good enough. That's the voice.
Insecure.
But you are. We all are good enough to do this. So it's one of those things that you just have to be like, it's here.
Yeah.
But I prevail nonetheless.
Yeah. Be a little Delulu. Delulu is the Salulu.
Love a little Delulu. I mean, I think most of us that are artists, like, you have to be a little Delulu.
Super Delulu.
Yeah. You're like,
especially when you're starting out. When you're starting out, you have to be so delusional. You're like, I'm going to get this camera and I'm going to be great. I'm going to take these pictures, like things you have.
We're putting people in the desert with suitcases and umbrellas. Delulu.
Delulu.
But magic.
So
let's rock with it.
Is calling us.
And maybe that guy before it was like, this, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
What if they see this and they're like, this is the dumbest idea, we're never using him again.
Yeah, he's spiraling in a 200 square foot apartment in New York somewhere.
100% in Manhattan.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and he's like eating Cheerios like no one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows, it's fine. It's fine. And then they're like, yes, and he's like, oh, the other thing is after you are done and the shoot is done, something opposite happens. You're like, I'm a genius.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go from,
confidence
like,
is way up here.
pit of despair, and then after the shoot, you're like,
I'm raising my prices.
I'm moving to New York City. Like, what am I doing here? Like, are you joking? Do you know what I mean? It's like wild, but it's normal, and I think that's what we need to come back to.
Yes, it is normal.
It is normal.
It is so normal. We all get extremely nervous right before a shoot. We all think we suck, and then we all think we're gods afterwards.
100%. I'm like, why is this not in Pottery Barn on the wall? Like, are we serious? Assistant, can you find out who the director is of like marketing Pottery Barn? This shoot was like next level. The sheets, the kids jumping, unreal.
They need to see this.
And then the next day, a new shoot, I'm like, I have nothing. Plus, you're an entrepreneur, so there's that with that.
And let's
a lot.
segue into that, because you are a bad boss babe out here.
Thanks.
And you run your own business. What is like the biggest piece of advice you can give them? Is it to get a lawyer?
I was gonna say, this is a big chunky question.
Yes,
yeah,
super
I
chunky.
think that like another thing, like just like I was explaining, a lot of photographers as they emerge should learn lighting. You also, it's a lot, but you also need to learn the business of photography.
100%.
It's a legit business. And like, as we were talking about, like photography doesn't have like a ton of rules, technically, maybe a little bit. In business, I think there is a set of structured processes and procedures.
Yeah.
Like, especially in commercial work.
Yeah.
That you're not forced to abide by them by any means.
Sure.
If you learn them, it makes your life easier. You're more respected, not only by your peers, but by your clients.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's important. Like, you can't run a business and then say, I don't understand business. You can't run a business and say, I don't understand licensing. Like, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's your job.
You got to make money out of this.
Like, if you were at any other job and you sat at your desk and was like, I know I'm a writer, but like, writing's not my thing. Or like, I don't really want to learn about it. That'd be a big problem. Your boss would be like, but you're a writer. So you can be a photographer, but you're also a business owner, and you can't forget that.
Yeah.
Or negate it and just kind of always wing it.
Yeah.
Because there's so much advice out there that's really bad. I think it's like really finding someone who, like,
Get a mentor.
oh my God, hit up someone and be like,
yeah.
I admire your business. It seems like you know what you're doing business-wise. Can I take a class? Do you do one-on-ones? I'm
Yes.
struggling with contract and pricing.
Yes.
I'm terrified when someone says, I don't like your pricing, or like, I'm redlining your contract. What do I do?
Yeah.
When a client comes back and they're furious, I feel the need to give them all the photos. No. We have to step back into our like professional
Boundaries.
seat. Yeah.
Boundaries.
Of course. And so like, I think learning as much of the business as you can, like for real, is one of the biggest things as a photographer who's a full-time photographer, even part-time.
Period. Because you can get yourself in some like really, really bad situations.
You can. And then if you want to talk about imposter syndrome, if you have people that you feel like you're constantly being taken advantage of, you feel terrible.
Oh, it's going to kill it's going to burn you out.
Big time.
First of all.
Yeah.
And
Quickly.
And I mean, there is not going to be a business left to run if you don't learn these things, if you don't set these boundaries. And a lot of people, it's really just ignorance. They really just don't know.
They just don't know.
These things are possible, especially, when it comes to licensing or like copywriting your work. Like, people just don't know, and they're out here getting taken advantage of. And then that ruins it for the rest of us that are trying to do things right. And then the client's like, well,
benefiting the industry. We're doing things right so that like the next person who does it is also making X, Y, and Z, protecting their images, their copyrights. You know what I mean? I saw one time you posted something and I read the comments and I was kind of shocked because the comments were from all over the world. And one of the biggest things I was like, whoa, is they were like, the person bought a package of photos from me. They can do whatever they want with them. And I was like, wait, like kindly, no. That is like such a misunderstanding. And again, it's just being naive about the truth. And how it really works. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's a really big gap in our industry that people don't know.
Huge.
Yeah, and it's not their fault, but I think the people who do know, it's our responsibility to help educate those who don't, to rise the industry up together, to be seen as like not just creatives, right? But as intellectuals and business owners also. Yeah, because we're creatives and that's such a blessing and we all love it, but we're also more than that.
100%.
Yeah.
We're multifaceted.
And I want photographers so desperately to feel respected. I think for some reason, a lot of times they don't.
Well,
you know, and I'm like, but, you know.
They're not respected. I think we're seen as button pushers and things like that. You know, there are some.
We're starving.
It's starving.
Yeah.
You know, because there are some not so great, uneducated photographers out there, and it's kind of ruining it for the ones who like, we do this full time. Yeah. You know, and so if we go to a client, we're like, and the client's like, well, you know, I worked with a photographer who charged me this much and they gave me all the rights and I didn't have to pay extra. And it's like,
and that's okay, and that exists.
And that's fine. Do you, boo?
Yeah, that's fine.
100%.
But like we run it from a more responsible business mindset.
Yeah.
And you don't have to use us, but we're not bad people or trying to rip you off because we're doing the right thing for the business.
Correct.
And I think sometimes when someone comes into, I call it your gate, like your email gate, and you send something, sometimes they'll say, I've used photographers for 10 years and they've never done this. And in my head, I'm like, well, send me their names because I think they don't know. If they knew, they might be doing it, right? I just think they don't know.
There shouldn't be a reason why you don't.
Correct.
It only benefits you. It protects you. It protects the client. Like, there isn't a reason you shouldn't be doing. You're screwing yourself.
And you have a profit margin. This is your livelihood at the end of the day. You're a business owner. You have to pay for all of your health insurance, retirement. That's all on you if you're full time.
You don't have to be a starving artist.
You don't. No, you don't.
You don't have to be a starving artist.
Yeah, I think business is big. I think there's a big gap in our industry, and I think a lot of people, if they knew more about it, would be like, wow, you know? And it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
Just like if you don't know lighting, asking for help, don't be embarrassed. Like, people are here to help you. We want everyone to be great.
We're just out here trying to make everyone great. We want everyone to win.
Message us. We'll help you with business. Like,
literally.
Seriously. Like, I'm so down.
We're not gatekeepers.
No. I'll tell everybody everything.
Same.
You want my locations? You want the address? You want the info to licensing? Let's talk.
Period.
You want to see my numbers? We can talk. Like, I'm okay. I think it's okay to share.
Well, you heard it here, guys. Like, if you want to know.
Come on in. Let's talk. Because sometimes they don't know. And then they see it and they're like, wait, I can do that?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. And in the beginning, you're going to feel terrified because you used to give away everything.
Yep.
People are used to you giving away everything.
Yes.
So when you change slowly, people are going to be a little shocked. That's a whole other thing. But like, it's a process.
Yeah, just like raising your rates. That's a scary thing for people.
It is, even me.
Am I worth it? Imposter syndrome.
Am I worth it? You're worth it. People will book you. The right people will book you.
It's true.
Yeah, and there might be some lows and slumps and whatever, but people will book you. Yeah, don't give up on yourself so quickly.
Yeah, don't price yourself cheap.
Well,
thank you, Steph. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
Quick little talk. I had so much fun today.
Today was such a good day.
You slayed.
No, you. I was like, oh, I kept screaming.
I know.
I was like, ah! Like I couldn't handle it.
We were
like, what is this girl doing?
We were cackling.
She's so good.
Find her Instagram. I'm going to leave it in the description there. Follow her. She has amazing, beautiful work. And if you have, questions, she is more than willing to help you guys. Like I've learned things from her. And
I've learned things from her. Your education stuff is so good. It's so essential.
We're going to have a podcast soon, so stay tuned.
Come on in.
Stay tuned for that. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Bye. That was so cute.
Oh my God.
Easy.
Slayed that shit.
Oprah, let's go.